marketing plan. My name is Matt Baer, the founder of Q4Launch, and I am excited to be with you today from sunny but absolutely frigid Charleston, South Carolina. Just for the record, our version of absolutely frigid is in the upper 30s today. Our office heat can't seem to keep up, so all of our team's wearing our jackets and trying to make the most of a cold day. I guess that's probably one of the challenges of having a lot of glass in your office. It's great on a nice sunny day, but brings in a lot of cold weather on a cool one. So excited you're with us. I'm going to be drinking coffee to stay warm throughout our time together today. If you've been with us on a webinar before, you know that once I get going, I don't need help staying warm, that we move pretty quick, have a lot of fun, cover a lot of information. Thanks for coming back if you've been with us before. Excited you're with us again. If this is your first time with us, welcome as well. Excited to introduce you to our webinars that we host as often as possible. Right now we're doing our best to host these about weekly, just as part of what we do as our company and core values of giving back to the industry educationally and educating you all with the things that we're seeing, the things that we're trying as a company, the successes we're seeing as we execute this. We give a lot of that information away so it can be helpful for you all as you're trying to plan and execute your marketing. So glad that you're with us as well. I'll give you a little bit of intro to us as a company and myself. I started an e-commerce company years ago, had that for 7 years, sold it, and then started Q4Launch. So my background was in internet marketing before social media existed, before MySpace, before Facebook, back when it was just a bunch of internet forums, and really used content marketing strategies back then to sell products for my e-commerce company. Fast forward many years, we're now using those same content marketing strategies. We have a lot fancier names for them, things like inbound marketing and content marketing, but we're using those strategies in the travel space as a company to put more heads in beds. And this year we helped over 1 million travelers discover new destinations as far as measured by the people visiting our customers' websites. Over 1 million people came to our customers' website that had never been there before, that we helped those people discover these destinations. So that was a big, exciting number for us. First time we crossed that threshold as a company in 2015, and exciting things to come in 2016. So a lot of what we're going to share today comes from my years in marketing. I honestly wish I had the strategy I'm going to lay out for you today 10, 15 years ago when I was running an e-commerce company. We would have been a lot more successful if I had. But we were learning, and it's been that 15 years of marketing experience and specifically internet marketing experience that has led us to this place. So going to dive deep with you all today on this and talk about some different things. I'm going to switch gears here for just a second and show you an actual spreadsheet that goes with our one-page marketing plan. So I'm going to walk you through our Prezi today. This is the how we do it. But then this spreadsheet that I'm going to pop up here on the screen for you is the kind of a takeaway you can have. So we'll email this to everybody, and I'll talk you through it real quickly. Every week is broken down into a column on this spreadsheet, so you can't probably see them because they're really tiny, but you can zoom in on it when you get a copy of this. But every week is its own column. We have some planning information here at the top you can use, number of rooms or properties, your average daily rate, or how much your property books for in an average day, or your rooms book for in an average day, and then trying to help you set some goals. So if you'll follow along with this and fill in these big yellow boxes, you'll notice there's one in each quarter because we wanted to allow for seasonality within this, so just average it for that quarter, and then you can kind of fill it in for that time. And then the rest of it will kind of fill in for you. So the non-yellow boxes up top will fill in for you, and then that will flow through to the bottom of the spreadsheet, which we'll look at in a minute, where actual revenue forecasting is done. So a pretty cool thing there. And then we also have all of these marketing tasks listed here, and you'll notice each one of these columns, I said, is associated with a week. If that box is colored in one of these columns, that's going to tell you you have a responsibility in that area. So for example, email marketing says twice per month. Again, probably pretty small on your screen, but it does. And you'll see that every other week that is colored in. And the reason it's colored in every other week is because every 2 weeks or so, twice a month, you're going to send an email marketing campaign. That's what we're going to suggest to you later on. So if you're executing this year, you would print this out and you would just check off that box. So you'd put a little check mark in that box as you are executing it. So that'll make a lot more sense once we get through our full time together today. And then we've also left empty rows here for you to fill in your own marketing responsibilities, things that are custom to you or things that might be a part of your personal marketing strategy for your company. And then down to the very bottom is those revenue numbers that I talked about. And these will calculate through based off of the data you put up here in these yellow boxes. So with that, you're probably thoroughly confused, which is always a terrible place to start a webinar. So we will spend the rest of our time together breaking through that confusion and explaining the how-to executing as a part of this strategy. And then we'll send you a copy of this Excel spreadsheet so you can make it your own and customize it as you need to throughout your time together, or throughout your time as you're planning your marketing for this year. And as you're doing that, if you have any questions, of course, by all means, please reach out to us. I know many of you do that on a regular basis, just with questions and things, so please know that we're available as a resource and would love to help you in that. So with that, let's start diving into our Prezi. Switch gears and bring that back up on the screen here, and we will spend the rest of our time together today going through this presentation. A little bit of housekeeping before we move forward. We will be using the chat panel for questions and answers. So if you have questions as we move throughout our time together, drop those in the chat panel, and I will peek in on those at the end of our time and answer as many of those as we have time for. Awesome. Here we go. All right. So the one-page marketing plan. I kind of showed you, or just did show you the Excel spreadsheet. But as we do this, as we look ahead, we really want to take a look back at 2015. We believe that any good strategy or any good marketing plan comes with an initial review of where you've been, whether you're starting it at the beginning of the year, as we're talking about today, or you're starting something mid-year. You want to really you want to be able to look back at where you've been to figure out the strategy to take you where you want to go. So let's take a look back at 2015. Let's think about that. And as we think about that, reflect on your year. Hopefully you've been doing some year-end planning and so forth, and you got a pretty good handle on how 2015 performed. And did it meet your expectations or not? And the question we like to ask is, if we fast forwarded a year, how many of us would be happy if our 2016 was exactly like our 2015 in our businesses? We spent the same amount of time, we made the same amount of money, it was the exact same year. Usually when we ask that question in a group setting, you always have a few people that raise their hand. You know, they had a phenomenal year. They had their best year ever in 2015. But a lot of those same people that might have had their best year ever aren't satisfied with that. And they're looking at pushing things forward in 2016 and developing a plan to do that. So most of us, I would say, obviously I can't see a show of hands here, but most of us would probably say, and probably be in that camp of saying, no, I want my 2016 to be better than my 2015 was. And then the question is, how do we define better? Usually that revolves around time or money. We either want more time so we can spend more time doing the things we love to do or the things we're best at doing, whether that's playing golf or reading a book or spending time with your kids or your grandkids, depending on which stage of life that you're in, or maybe both, your kids and your grandkids. Or maybe it's you want more money. You know, you're happy with where 2015 was, or maybe you're not, but you say in 2016 I need to grow my business. It needs to do more for me. I've invested a lot into it, and it's time it starts paying a little bit more of a dividend back. Most of us fall into one or both of those camps, the time or money camp, as those are the scarcest resources that we usually have in our world on a regular basis. So as we do that, though, we have to ask ourselves this question. If we want more time or money, we have to ask the question, how many of us have made any major changes to your marketing strategy? You probably said at the beginning of 2015 the same thing. You wanted it to be better than 2014. But how many of you really made a major change in your marketing strategy last year? And how many of us have major changes planned for our marketing strategy this year? Usually when we ask that question, maybe 10% of the room will raise their hand, maybe less, maybe 5%, because it's very difficult sometimes to really figure out what change needs to be made to take me where I want to go. And that's one of the things we're going to hopefully clear up for you today, is being able to make those major changes. If we want things to be majorly different, we want more time, we want more money, we have to be willing to make a major change. If we don't, we fall into Einstein's definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We all probably heard that from time to time. But that really makes a lot of sense, right? We say we want things to be different in 2016. We say we want things to be better in 2016. But for the most part, people are resistant to change. So we have to be willing, we have to go into this year, go into this planning stage saying, I'm willing to do something different. I'm willing to take a risk I haven't taken before to make my 2016 the best year it's ever been. And if you're not, you want it to be different, but you're not willing to do what it takes to make that happen, unfortunately, you can thank your friend Einstein there for that great definition of insanity. So if we want things to be different this year, we all know it's going to start with developing a successful marketing strategy. We're going to touch on a few things here that really we have found goes into building this successful marketing strategy. The first, and we're going to ask a lot of questions as we move throughout our time, so I'm sure you're probably used to that considering we're 5 or 10 minutes in and I've already asked you about 15 questions, but that trend is not going to change. So as we really are working on the process of developing our strategy, asking first and foremost the question, are we happy with it? Are you happy with your current results, or are you happy with your current partnerships? The relationships it took to get the results that you have. If you were on our New Year's resolution webinar the week before last, I think it was, we talked about this is the year of surrounding yourself with people you love to work with. And I had a more clever way of saying it 2 weeks ago. I don't remember exactly what I said, but you can check that out on our YouTube channel if you're interested in that. But are you happy with your current results, and are you happy with your current partnerships that are helping make that a reality for you? And that goes back to that time piece. You can't do everything. So you've got to surround yourself with staff, with partners, with other people in your life that can support the strategies you're trying to implement. And as you're thinking about this year, what are your goals or what are your objectives? We want to set some big picture goals, which we're going to help you do that today. I've set some goals that I'd love to see you accomplish this year. And then with those goals, you're going to break that down into objectives and say, okay, on a smaller scale, these are the objectives I need to accomplish to reach my bigger picture goals. And then as with any strategy that we're going to launch, we have to understand how are we going to measure that? And most importantly, how are we going to measure the return on investment? It's important to connect in your mind that if you're talking about launching a new marketing strategy in 2016 and making major changes, you are talking about investing in the growth of your business. Your accountant, as tax time is approaching, is going to tell you that marketing is an expense, and it's going to show up that way on your profit and loss statement. But we don't want you to view marketing as an expense. You shouldn't view marketing as an expense. You should view marketing as an investment in the growth of your business. And if it doesn't accomplish that, what's the point? And you need to think about that along with a way of how you're planning to measure for that. So start your initiatives understanding where you've been, where you need to go, and how are you going to measure your success along the way. And then from there, what marketing methods are right for you? What's right for somebody might not be right for everybody. The very few things are right for everybody. There are some things that we think are foundational to marketing, and they're probably right for everybody, but then how you execute those has some individual nuance to it and some customization to it. So what marketing methods are right for you? We're going to dive into different marketing methods today that we have found to be most successful as we have worked with well over 100 travel companies or destinations, hospitality companies in the last year. So it's been an exciting year, but we're going to share some of those success stories with you that we have found from my 15 years of internet marketing experience have really been the methods that have provided the greatest success for us. So let's keep moving along here. As we do this, we want to help you build a formula for hitting your desired booking goals for 2016. Wouldn't it be nice, right? Wouldn't it be nice to have a formula and just say, if I execute this formula, I know I'm going to increase my bookings. I'm a big formula guy. I follow the stock market a lot, and a lot of this kind of stemmed out of the desire for me years ago to be able to build or not build, but to follow a formula that would help me do my own stock selection well. And I read a book called The Little Blue Book That Beats the Market. And he laid out this magic formula. He said, if you follow my magic formula, you will beat the market consistently with your stocks. And I followed it, and I've done a ton of research, and I've used it. And it does, but for the most part, it outperforms the market, which is great. It might perform at 12%, where the market as a whole may perform at 8%. So big picture, it does. And with that, kind of led me to this realization was as I was searching for that formula, how many of us would love to have that formula? As a company, we need to have a formula that works for our customers, and that's the formula we're going to lay out for you today. We call it packages, but we've really built it around a formula that drives success for us. Now, we're constantly tweaking, testing, proving that formula, so there are constant changes to it to really make it perform, but that formula is something we're going to share with you today, and it's what's ultimately laid out for you in the one-page marketing plan. So if you're tackling your marketing this year, you're fired up, you're ready to make some of those major changes, this is a great first step for you to take, is to look at this formula and start putting things in place to be able to execute this in your own business this year. So let's dive in and look at the different elements of making this formula work, the how we do it part of the formula. For us, it starts with email marketing. If you've been with us on webinars before, you've heard me talk a lot about email marketing. We talk a lot about it because we are huge believers in it. As a company, at this point, we send over 1 million emails a month, and we have a tremendous amount of data available to us on email marketing, what works, what doesn't work, what split tests are working, and we're constantly learning from the results of what we see there so that every campaign can be better than the one we sent before. We take a lot of little bets with our email campaigns, or what we would call split tests, and learn a lot from those things. But email marketing is absolutely a critical part of the formula for your success in 2016. So let's dive into this and look at the elements of what's going on here. Talked about asking you questions. So how many of us are sending email campaigns at least monthly? You heard me at the beginning say we want you to send them twice per month, but how many are you doing it at least monthly? Usually when I ask that question, there's maybe 25% of the room that will raise their hand, and I know about 10% of those people are actually lying. I know that because we've done so many analytics analyses for people and helped them dive into their data, understand, and email marketing is one of the most confused, most underutilized marketing mediums out there. We'll do an analysis with somebody, let's call him Joe. So we do an analytics analysis with Joe. We dive into his analytics and we see a spike in traffic on March 15th. And I say, Joe, what happened on March 15th? That single day, you had the highest traffic of any day of the year. And consistently, Joe will say, I don't know. I don't know what was March 15th. And we'll hear him, because these are usually over the phone, we'll hear him shuffling around in the background. We'll hear him clicking on some things on his keyboard. And eventually Joe will say, I think I sent an email blast that day. And I already know the answer to that question. 9 times out of 10, it's email marketing, because there's nothing that can drive that type of spike in traffic email marketing can. So the next question I ask is, well, Joe, if you saw that spike in traffic, why haven't you sent an email campaign since? And the answer is usually, well, I got too busy. I sent that in March. It was the springtime. We were kind of slower. We were headed into our busy season. I got some bookings from it, and then busy season got here, and I just haven't done it since. And that's okay to a certain extent, but it's not okay if you want this year to be your best year yet. You have to commit to sending those on a regular, consistent basis. If you don't, you will absolutely not see the same results you could if you sent them regularly. So what we have found is a good sweet spot is to send those email campaigns twice per month, and that's our recommendation to you. Most email marketing software charges a flat fee based on the number of contacts you have. So you could send 10 times a month, or you could send once a month. You're going to pay your email marketing provider the exact same amount in most cases, which means the first campaign you send is expensive, right? You've got to pay for that software that month, buy your first campaign. But your second campaign, the only expense you have, because you've already paid for the software for the month, is the amount of time it takes you to put that together. And that's not a negligible thing. It's a very time-consuming process. But it's an important thing, because your ROI will go higher the more that you're able to do. Now, that doesn't mean go out and send 10 campaigns. That's not what I'm saying. But being able to use more of those will absolutely help you with that. Next thing we want to look at here is that email marketing is really there to serve 2 main purposes: to stay top of mind and be relevant to your subscriber base. That's a really important part of email marketing strategies as a whole. The top of mind and being relevant with your subscriber base. You may have heard me tell the story of I get asked a lot for suggestions for people who are looking to take a vacation, because I work in the travel space, and many of my friends and colleagues know that. They ask me where the favorite places I've been are, and I love to give them recommendations to go visit many of you all who I've had the opportunity to stay with. But as I was doing that, and as I do that, the people whose names show up in my email inbox are the people who get my referrals. If your name pops up in my email inbox, and even if I don't open your email campaign, but just by your name popping up in my inbox, you have achieved top-of-mind awareness with me. You have reminded me about the trip that I had and the experience I had staying at your properties, your city, your destination, taking all that in. That whole thing becomes top-of-mind awareness. And whether I open your email, whether I click on your links, whether I do anything you can actually track, you've achieved top-of-mind awareness. And that's how you earn referrals from past guests to future guests. So when my friends email me or they call me and say, hey, looking to take my wife somewhere for her anniversary, where should we go this year? That's the places that top-of-mind awareness is a really valuable thing. And the same thing happens with your guests. As they're talking about their experiences, as they're talking about, people love to talk about going on vacation. They love to brag about it on social media. So it's a great opportunity to stay top of mind with those people by being able to put that message in their email inbox on a regular basis. The other thing that we want to look at is touching on the piece of pushing specials or packages. So it is okay to send a sales email in this context, right? Now, every email you send shouldn't be a salesy email. You should have other messages besides that. But when you're pushing a special or a package, you're essentially getting that message out there that there's something unique about this, whether it's a romance package for February or it's a winter wonderland package in January to come enjoy all the beautiful snow you might be having. Surprisingly enough, people in the South love to get away and see snow. So if you've got snow coming this weekend, you could email your database and say, hey, it's going to snow this weekend, come see us. You know, you might think of that as a negative thing, but a lot of times people who don't see snow regularly want to see snow. I was just talking with a buddy of mine last night, and he was telling me about a getaway they did. They went from Charleston up to the mountains of North Carolina this weekend. His wife got off work, and he said, wife, babe, let's go find some snow. So as an impromptu thing, they jumped on the internet, and they did some quick forecast checks, and they figured out where it was going to snow this weekend. But in that same way, if you know it's going to snow this weekend, and that's maybe a kind of a rare thing for you, that's a message you should be sending out to your database, getting that out and saying, hey, come have an adventure with us. Come check out the snow. Now, if you're up in Maine and it snows there every day, that's not probably as exciting of a concept because it's not rare. But in that same way, you can think about what those things are. You know, maybe it's an 80-degree day in the spring saying, hey, it's going to be 80 degrees here this weekend. It's a perfect time to get away and have a pre-summer vacation since it's 80 degrees outside. So lots of different opportunities to push specials, push packages, share relevant content and reasons to visit. All of that ties back into what great email marketing is and making sure you're getting that stuff in front of your database, those messages in front of your database, not just a sales message all the time. So not just, hey, take 10% off. We want to stay away from that as much as possible. We'll push other relevant messages, other reasons to visit. In that same way, that reasons to visit is really going to go hand in hand with our blogging, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But being able to write blogs about great things to do in your area, specifically in the shoulder season, and then send that out to your database. You know, hey, did you know about this waterfall hike you can do? Or did you know that these 3 breweries just opened here and you should come check out these microbrews and make a weekend trip of it, or come during the week because it's not as busy and the crowds aren't as big. Lots of opportunities to give people a reason to come back and see you. Don't wait on them to have another anniversary. They came for their anniversary last year. They came for their family vacation maybe last year. But this is your opportunity to say, hey, now's the time to come, and here's why, because we have these great things going on in our city. It's an awesome opportunity to turn past guests into repeat guests by sharing that blog content with them on a regular basis. And as you're doing that, as you're working towards that in 2016, it's a really important thing to think about the things you're going to track. What we have found is that our average click-through rate is going to be about 8% for the month. That's 4% per email campaign, and we're going to send 2 of them. So 4% per campaign, 2 campaigns a month, about 8% of your database should be clicking through. So as you're building your formula of traffic, think about that. Think how big your email marketing database is. Multiply that by 8%, and that's about how much traffic you should be expecting to get from your email marketing. And if you're not doing email marketing, that's about how much traffic you're missing out on. Compare that to the industry average. The industry average for the travel space is about a 2% click-through rate. We see about a 4% click-through rate, so twice the industry average. So as you're working on your own email or working with somebody on that, those are some good goals to be working towards. Between a 2 and a 4% click-through rate, send it twice per month, and you'll have 8% of your database coming to your website any given month. And then as you're thinking about what do you track, what we really recommend tracking is the traffic to your website and the open rate on your campaigns. Traffic to website, of course, we talked about is important because that's one of the big things you're measuring there. But then open rate is important as well, because you know if more people are opening that campaign than a previous campaign, that was probably more relevant to them or more interesting to them, be it the subject line, than other stuff that you've sent. So you start to get an idea of how to get people to open your stuff. Awesome. So let's spend a few minutes and talk about blogging. You heard me kind of intro it there a little bit in that one. But how many of us blog at least weekly? Well, we have found we publish several hundred blogs a month. We publish thousands of blogs this year, and we analyze all the data on that on a constant basis to see what's working and how do we need to change our strategy as a result of that. And as we have done that, what we have found to be the most effective is to publish blogs at least weekly. If we're publishing 52 blogs a year, or one per week, that is 52 keyword-rich pages you're essentially adding to your website every single year, which is huge because that's the number of things you can really target from a keyword perspective to go after. SEO, or search engine optimization, which we're going to talk about later on, and blogging go hand in hand. A lot of people say SEO is dead in today's marketing world. In reality, it's absolutely not dead. It's just changed, and it's got a lot more difficult. And your SEO strategy and your blogging strategy should go hand in hand. We've been saying that for years, but there's still a lot of people who aren't doing it that way. They're not creating quality content consistently, which is what blogging is all about. Blogging is not about writing about the fact that you had a great dinner last night, unless you're going to use the name of the restaurant to try to capture search traffic. Blogging is about writing stories about the things people are searching for when they're planning a trip to your area. And when someone is planning a trip to your area and they search that thing, whatever it is, I'm going to give you an example here in a minute, but whatever that is, whether it's the best restaurants or the best beaches or the best hiking trails, whatever those things are that they're searching for, you want to be the person they find with the answer. If they find you with the answer to their question by doing a Google search, they now know you exist. So they have been in the process of planning their vacation. They stumble upon your website by doing that search, and they find you. Now they have the opportunity to book with you. You've gotten them to your website. You've exposed them to your brand. Hopefully your website does a great job of bringing them in and wanting to check out your property. So as we do that, and I said I'll show you an example here in just a second, but as we do that, you can count on this for about another 750 visits a month. That would be the goal we would set for you as you're trying to build your traffic formula for the year and saying, hey, I need to increase my traffic by X this year so I can grow my business. Count on this for about another 750 visits. But it's going to take you at least 6 months of blogging weekly to get there. What we have found every time we launch blogging initiatives with our customers, the first 3 to 6 months, our efforts are almost 100% ignored by Google. But something magic happens in that 4th through 6th month. Google starts indexing our blogs, and they start ranking them. We start getting traffic from it, and you can see it in your analytics if you know how to look for it. But you can see that traffic start coming in, and then at the 6-month mark, you typically see a huge spike in traffic coming into your blog. Huge opportunity there. And if you keep after it, you keep doing those weekly blog posts, your second 6 months of doing that will be dramatically better than your first 6 months. And your second year will be dramatically better than your first year. And it will just keep getting better year after year after year from there. There's some blogs on our website about customers of ours that are 3 years in to this strategy and the success that they're seeing. So you can check those out or email me. I'd be happy to get them for you. But the idea there is that it continues to grow. You continue to rank for more and more keywords. You can continue to get found for more and more things, and that's going to help you grow your business because more and more people will be discovering your destination, your property. But you've got to publish weekly blogs on keyword-specific content to be able to accomplish that. So let's dive in here and take a look at an example real quick. One of the things that we will often do is publish blogs on topics specific to surrounding cities, what we would call drive markets. So this is an example of a customer of ours in the Hocking Hills of Ohio. And we found a lot of people live in Cincinnati and they don't want to stay in Cincinnati for the weekend. So our content team and our customer experience team, through a lot of research that we do, discovered a lot of people were searching this term, weekend getaways from Cincinnati or weekend getaways near Cincinnati. We created a blog for this customer back in April of 2014. So this blog is almost 2 years old now, and every month it brings us a ton of traffic, even to this day. The ranking bounces around a little bit. At this time it was ranked 4th when I grabbed the screenshot, but it bounces around on the top 5 there a little bit. But lots of people who live in Cincinnati searching for something to do this weekend, some type of weekend getaway. And think about this. This is important because these people don't know where they're going. All they know is where they live. They know they live in Cincinnati, and they know they want to get away. So with that, we developed content to be able to expose them to the Inn & Spa at Cedar Falls. We developed content to say, hey, if you're living in Cincinnati, you should come to the Hocking Hills. You should have a weekend getaway at the Inn & Spa at Cedar Falls. We tell them all the things. Here's an example. This is actually something that screenshot I need to get an update for you on because there's a lot more opportunity or a lot more traffic we've gotten. But in the first several months that blog post was live, we got 2,400 visits from that blog post. So 2,400 people came to our website by searching that term or a sequence of terms like that on Google and discovering our customer. And in that same way, we've used that in tons of different markets that we do work in. But you can use a similar concept. That's just one example of many, right? We're going to write 52 blogs a year. We got to have a lot more than just one story to tell. But that's one great story you can tell that will drive traffic to your website and help you get your destination discovered by people who are planning a vacation. And the proof is in the pudding. That one blog delivered 2,400 visits for us in a short amount of time. So great opportunity there. Next thing we're going to do is slide into social media here a bit. How many of us have active Facebook pages? When we say active, it means that you're publishing 3 to 5 times per week and is growing at 5 to 10% per month. The industry average is that it would grow about 10% per year. We set the goal and set the expectation that it should grow 5 to 10% per month. Of course, percentage varies a little bit based on how big your page is to begin with, but that's the goal that we're working towards. And that's what we would hope for you to accomplish this year as you're doing that. As you're working on social media, it's important to understand, though, that social media isn't the end-all, be-all. If I had a show of hands when I asked that question of how many of us have active Facebook pages, usually about 80% of the room raises their hand. And if you really sit down and interview people on where they're investing their time in their marketing, in their business, the majority of people are spending the majority of their time in social media. And that kind of makes sense because it's the easiest thing for you to do. It's the most natural thing for you to invest your time in because you're already spending your own personal time there. And that's okay. But the fact that most people spend the majority of their time in the marketing method that provides the lowest return on investment is a problem. So let me repeat that. The majority of people spend the majority of their time on the area that has the lowest return on investment. And I'm talking about social media there. So you're plugging most of your marketing time and as a result, most of your marketing budget, because time and all that kind of ties together, into the area that has the lowest ROI. So as you're working on planning your 2016, I would say pull back some of that time you're planning on social media and invest it into some of these other methods we've talked about today. As we work on our marketing mix and we're executing our integrated marketing strategy for our customers, the smallest percentage of our staff time is allocated to social media, and it's been that way for years. We know the role social media plays. It's an important place, and it has a role, and it has an ROI. We get bookings from this source, but it is the least important, and it should be the last place, not the last place, but the smallest place you invest time from a marketing perspective. So if you have a limited amount of time and or money, think about that. as you're planning how to allocate that time and money. If you don't have a limited amount of time and money, we'd love for you to call us because I would love to take a vacation with you. But most of us, I'd say all of us, have a limited amount of time and money unless there's any oil tycoons on our call today. And if there are, please, by all means, you don't even need to use the chat panel. You can just call me direct, and we'd love to have a conversation. But that's not the reality for most of us. So let's dive in and take a look at what social media. If we're going to spend time on it, how should we be doing that effectively? The first is create engaging content to keep your edge rank high. What that really means, edge rank refers to Facebook's algorithm of how they rank people's posts and people's news feeds. The more engaging your content, the more people that like, comment, and share on your content, the more likely it is, or the more engaging it is, and then it will show up in their news feed again. So if you can get people to interact with you or engage with you on social media, your content's more likely to show up in their news feed, and you're more likely to get the viral reach effect of social media, being able to reach those people's friends by them engaging with you. So a really strong opportunity there. Of those that do have active pages, not very many are actually posting engaging content on a regular basis. The number one way you can do that is by sharing great photos of your area and properties. You've absolutely got to be sharing great photography. You need to have a great photography database, whether those are some stock photos you've gotten or you've paid for of your area, or maybe they're photos your chamber or your visitors bureau or your destination marketing organization's paid for and you can use, or you bring in your own photographer and you get your own images. Whatever you do, you need to be making sure you have great photos to work with. It's one of the most important parts of the marketing we're doing for our customers, is being able to choose the right photos for what we're doing. And then ask for the like, comment, or share. You know, it sometimes can seem a little social faux pas to ask people to like, comment, or share on something, but there's clever ways to do it. You know, using like, comments, or shares as a voting mechanism, for example. You know, if you would rather go for a hike today, like this image. If you'd rather sit by the fireplace and drink hot chocolate, share this image. And maybe you take a picture and you split the screen, or you split that image in two, and you've got the hiking trail and you've got the fireplace with the coffee or the hot chocolate or the glass of wine sitting there, and they can like or comment or like or share that photo based on which of those two activities they'd rather do. Different people will engage with that differently, but it's kind of, you're using it as a poll. And when they see that, they're like, they have to respond. Like, I've got to answer their question. If I was doing that, I would absolutely be liking that because I want to go on a hike. I don't care how cold it is outside. I'm going on a hike. Like, I get off of my chair. I'm going to go out. I'm going to enjoy the outdoors. If my wife saw that in her news feed, she'd be doing the opposite. She just wants to sit by the fireplace and drink a glass of wine, and she is happy as a camper. That is like her ideal afternoon or evening. So it's really a great way to engage people, and we like to use those kind of opposites there because you're reaching those different parts of the market, people who like to have those different experiences. And then you're working on your traffic formula, and you're building that for 2016 and saying, hey, this is my plan to increase traffic by X number of visits this coming year. You could probably only count on this for about 150 visits a month, because social media is not the medium that's going to drive a lot of traffic to your website. It is the medium people are going to go to check you out. They're going to see, you know, it's kind of a TripAdvisor of sorts. They want to see if you're posting stuff. They want to see if you're engaged, especially the millennials. The millennial traveler is definitely going to be checking out your social media presence and looking for authenticity in that. They're looking for the fact that you're engaged with people. They're looking if anybody's had a negative experience. They want that peer-to-peer interaction, a little bit about what's going on at that property, what are things to do there. They want to know that it's a great place to go. And if you're not responding to those comments, you're not responding to people there, or it hasn't been updated regularly, you will absolutely lose sales from not doing this well. You may not get sales or all that many sales that you can track to the fact you did this well, but you will absolutely lose sales if you're not doing this well, or lose bookings if you're not doing this well. So people ask us a lot about ROI on social media. It is very difficult to track, but we believe, and what we've seen, is that it's more likely to stop a negative ROI than it is to provide a positive ROI, which at the end of the day, it still helps you drive bookings, but it's just one of the factors that makes that decision for your traveler, not the driving factor. But an important thing to really wrap your head around. Awesome. So let's talk for a minute about SEO. It doesn't follow social media because it's less important, but how many of us are doing ongoing SEO or search engine optimization on a monthly basis? Are you keeping up with where you rank in the organic search results? And do you have a strategy to make sure you're staying there, or if you're not already there, to get there? It's an important thing to think about the fact that there are only so many spaces available in the organic search results. And if you're in a competitive marketplace, meaning one that has more companies than there are spaces available, and you're there already, you have to ask yourself, am I doing the things I have to do to stay here? Because if you're there, your competitors are working harder than you are to get there, they will eventually surpass you in that area. So you've got to make sure that you're not only have you worked to get there, but you're working to maintain your position there. If you don't maintain your position there, you will probably start falling off in those results after a while. The other thing, some people, it used to be that search engine optimization, you could get started on it and then you could back off after a while, move to more of a maintenance mode to maintain your positioning there. Google let us know about a year ago that they were moving away from these major algorithm updates, the pandas, penguins, pigeons of the world, because they don't like being in the news for those things. Every time they're in the news for that, a million different bloggers write a million different opinions about how this algorithm update is impacting things and what you need to do to overcome it. They don't want that. They don't want you to overcome the changes they've made. That's why they made the change in the first place. So as such, we've seen this year a lot more minor updates being made on a daily basis as opposed to lots of major updates. So instead of publishing 60 changes at once and in that update, getting a name like panda or penguin or whatever, one of those fuzzy P animals, instead of doing it that way, they're making constant small updates. And if you're not doing this, if you're don't have a strategy to succeed here on an ongoing basis, one of those small updates might catch you in a negative way. And if you're not on top of it, you will lose out on a lot of traffic and have no idea until you see the impact of it in your bookings. And you don't usually know, you don't notice that impact in your bookings until down the road, because most of us are tracking revenue, not tracking bookings. And that means that the booking might have happened 3 months ago, the revenue change is noticed today, now we're way behind on being able to make a change, and you can lose an entire peak season by getting caught in an update like this. So you've got to be on top of it regularly. We also know, or there's a lot of scuttlebutt around right now, that there is an algorithm update coming probably in February. So while that's kind of been what we saw in 2015, no major changes, no major shakeups, the last real newsworthy item that was breaking news was the mobile update, which I think was like August of 2014, so it's been a while. I have to double check on that date. I know we've published a ton of blog content about it when we had it and did a webinar, but 2015 didn't have that. We do think in February 2016 another major algorithm update is coming, which is kind of contrary to what they've led us to believe about some of the changes. But the point is, you've got to be on top of that. It absolutely has to be something you're thinking about as you're preparing for your 2016 strategy. And as you do that, as you think about, and I know some of our stomachs are probably turning at the mention of another algorithm update, commit to this. Commit to producing consistent quality content. If you do that, you will absolutely succeed in the long run. And what I mean by consistent quality content is blog posts that are keyword focused and they're a minimum of 500 words every single post. Every single post is a minimum of 500 words focused on a keyword or phrase, and it's published weekly. If you do that, you will win in the long run. Every single algorithm update Google has ever made has rewarded consistent quality content creation. I don't think you can say that about anything else as far as SEO is concerned, but every single update ever has rewarded quality content creation. So as you're trying to beat the SEO system, there isn't any way you can quote-unquote beat it. You just have to play the game the way Google wants it to be played. You have to do the things that tell them you are committing to doing a great job and helping travelers plan the best vacation they can have. And they want you to do that by creating quality content. If you think about it, every time you publish a piece of content, it makes the internet bigger. Every time the internet gets bigger, it makes Google bigger. So you're really feeding the beast to a certain extent, but in a good way. And by that, they're going to reward you for playing the game the way they want it to be played. So commit to that this year. If nothing else, commit to doing that as a part of your SEO strategy, which ties back to that blogging piece we were talking about and the reason those strategies go hand in hand so much. And then as you're talking about that formula, building that out, my goal for you would be to increase traffic from organic search this year by 20%. It can absolutely be done. You can absolutely increase organic traffic by 20%. Our customers on average this year saw a 25 to 40% increase in traffic, with many of them well beyond that. And I just tell you that, not to pat ourselves on the back, but just to set that expectation that it's possible. So if someone's telling you that SEO is dead, or someone's telling you you should be happy with the fact that your organic traffic is flat year over year, or it's not abnormal that it's down year over year, I'm here to tell you that's not the case. You don't have to settle for that. There's absolutely growth. There's absolutely ground to be taken in this. You just have to commit to the marketing strategy that's going to make it a reality for you. And it's not going to be easy. It's time-consuming, but if you do it well, you'll get the bookings that come from it. So I want to encourage you with that as you're planning your strategy for 2016. We're going to jump on a couple other things real quickly here and then try to leave a few minutes for questions and answers. It's also important to have referring websites out there and looking for those referral partners, whether it's restaurants, area activities, chambers, state associations. Make sure you're building those. We recommend building 4 new referral website partners every single quarter. It's kind of that old concept of link exchange. A lot of people aren't doing it anymore, but it's absolutely valid. If somebody's checking out the horseback riding place in your city, wouldn't it be great if they had a link to your property as well? So connect with those people, share links, be able to help each other as you're building your marketing strategy. And if you're mentioning those people in your blogs, that's a great way to ask for them to link back to you, because you've already done some marketing for them by writing a blog about horseback riding or zip lining or restaurants or whatever. It's a great way to ask for that link back. If they are paid referral websites, I know many of us, well, probably all of us use directory listings at some level as a part of our marketing strategy. You need to be annually, at least annually, understanding the return on investment you're getting from those directories, whether that's your TripAdvisor business listing, or that's a HomeAway listing, or it's a bedandbreakfast.com listing. Whatever that is, you need to be analyzing your ROI from that third-party listing and having a way to figure that out. Awesome. Let's keep moving along. Reputation management. Not going to spend a ton of time here, but having a 5-star review strategy is also something that's going to be important for you this year. It's a little bit lower on our priority list because this kind of happens organically to a certain extent. But notice I said having a 5-star review strategy, not a reputation management strategy, not a strategy to get more reviews, but a strategy to get more 5-star reviews. And I know many of your reservation or booking engines or property management software has this built in, but really be thinking about not just driving reviews, but driving 5-star reviews, and how do you do that? And doing that on a consistent basis across the different platforms. Don't focus solely on one. Most people we talk to are doing really well on one of those platforms, and that's great if you are, but you need to be thinking about the others. Are you doing great on Google Plus with your reviews? Maybe not, as in this case of this screenshot here. Not doing great on Google Plus, so we need to focus some more effort on our Google Plus efforts here. Maybe you're doing great on TripAdvisor, but you're not doing great on Yelp. You know, we see a lot stronger use of Yelp on the West Coast. So if you're out there on the West Coast, you need to be using Yelp as a part of your review strategy. If you're on the East Coast, we don't see as much over here. We don't see as much traffic from those sources. So maybe thinking about something else as a part of your reputation management strategy. But an important thing to think about as you're planning that. And then seasonal packages. We recommend creating seasonal packages at least quarterly. People are getting busier and busier, and their attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, meaning they're spending less time planning because they're busier and busier, which means if you create great packages and you put those packages in front of people, make it easy for them to take a vacation with you, they will thank you for that. They will reward you for that in bookings. But you've got to do the work of putting these experiences together. It's about marketing that experience more than it is about marketing your accommodation. People go on vacation to have experiences. They don't go on vacation to sleep in a comfortable bed. They want to sleep in a comfortable bed at night, but they want to go on vacation to have an experience and create a memory. And that's what your packages can help do. But you've got to create those and update those seasonally. If you're not, and they go to your website and you're promoting your fall package or your Halloween package, and it's winter time, you're missing the boat. You immediately lose relevance to that person. which is especially important to the millennial traveler. You're going to instantly lose credibility to that traveler if your website is out of date and doesn't have that updated package information on it. So you've got to commit to doing that well, doing that on a regular basis. And when you do that, like I said, they'll thank you in bookings, which is a great opportunity. That's at the end of the day what it's all about, and what our whole time here together was designed to talk about. How do we drive more bookings? Next thing I'm going to touch on is analytics tracking. As you're doing this, I talked about the importance of measuring it. You have to have a plan to measure the effectiveness of what you're doing. Actually, next week, we're going to be teaching a webinar on how to understand your Google Analytics. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sending an invitation out for that. We'll just be giving you some free advice, diving through data together and helping you understand that. But you need to review your analytics at least monthly. We are in analytics on a daily basis at our office. We are constantly looking at traffic, looking at trends, looking at how well campaigns perform. I know if you're managing your own marketing, you can't be doing it diving that deeply into it, but you should be in there on a regular basis with a minimum of being in there monthly. Understanding where your traffic and bookings are coming from, looking for any red flags or places that you've lost traffic year over year. So really flipping that up. I mean, analytics is designed to show you places you're growing traffic from, but turn it the other way. And we'll show you how to run some of that in our webinar next week. But turn it the other way so you can see where have you lost traffic this year. That's really important, because if we replace traffic from one source with traffic from another source, that might just break us even, because we've lost traffic here, we've lost bookings here, we increase it over here, we may break even and think that our marketing strategy is not working. When in reality, our marketing strategy is working, it's just that our listing over here on this third-party directory site isn't providing like it did last year. So we're down because of that, or we're even because of that, when our strategy has worked to get us to even. If we weren't executing our strategy, we'd be in the negative. So in those cases, you've got to look at your analytics for those red flags that we're talking about there. If you're working with a marketing partner, you should be absolutely leaning on them to lead this discussion. They should be able to help you understand your data. If you ever wonder, like if you're seeing those trends in your bookings, email them, and they should be coming back to you with data that says, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what we believe, this is the changes we think we need to make as a result, or whatever. They should be sending you some type of monthly report. All too often we hear the excuse that my marketing company doesn't send me reports because they're too busy doing my marketing. That's like the worst thing I've ever heard. Think about it like this, and this is how we look at it. Think about those two kids that come home from school, right? The brother and the sister. The one comes home, runs up to mom and dad and says, look at my report card, look at my report card, I got straight A's. While that one's running up to mom and dad, the other kid is slinking into their bedroom hoping to not be noticed. What do you think the grades that the kid who slinked into their bedroom got were? Chances are not very good. And in the same way, if your marketing company is doing a great job for you, they're going to want to show you that report card. They're going to want to show you that once a month and say, hey, look at the data, look what it says. We're doing good. Things are exciting. They're going to be excited about the success they're seeing. If they don't want to give you a report, or they tell you they're too busy, chances are they're trying to hide something, and they don't really want to dive into the data to understand what's going on. So that's kind of a quick example that ties back to those child's report cards, but that's a good analogy to stick with as you're thinking about that. And that's going to help you understand and measure the effectiveness of where your revenue is going. Really looking at that revenue, because where analytics connects with revenue is where you're going to ultimately get your return on investment. And tying that back to the understanding that marketing is an investment in the growth of your business, like we talked about at the beginning. It's not an expense, it's an investment. You have to invest in the future growth you want from your business. You have to be willing to invest today to get growth tomorrow. You should have a plan and know how you're going to track that ROI. Know what's working, what's not. And again, as part of that reporting, we believe your marketing partner should be reporting that for you, which is one of the reasons it can be really beneficial to work with somebody to do your marketing as opposed to trying to tackle it on your own, because it can be difficult when you're doing it on your own to really dive in and understand that ROI. Awesome. So if you're excited from what we've talked about today, want to make this opportunity available to you, and it's to request our marketing grader. We've recently updated what we're doing here, so if you've requested one of these from us in the past, it has a new look, a new feel to it, so I encourage you to check that out again. Or maybe you've requested one in the past, but you've made some changes in your marketing strategy and you want to know where your score is now. Encourage you to request that as well. But what our marketing grader does is it essentially grades your marketing performance on a scale of 0 to 100. We'll help you understand where that grade is in comparison to your industry peers. We've analyzed over 500 companies with our marketing grader today, which is really, really exciting. It's been a lot of time, but we have a really good handle on where the industry is as a whole. We won't give you any specifics, but we'll tell you where your score falls in general to the rest of the industry, so you know how you're performing. And then most importantly, I think, the most valuable part of this whole next step that you can take is to get actionable ideas you can implement today. So we will actually give you action steps you can implement today into your marketing strategy. We will say, hey, if we were doing it, this is how we would do it. And we'll give you those. And no matter where you are, whether you're a marketing all-star or you're a marketing newbie, it's kind of like the Richter scale. So the better your marketing is, the harder it is going to be to get those next points on the greater scale. And as such, the more advanced those action items will be, the more advanced your marketing already is. So something to think about there. And encourage you to take that next step. If you're fired up today, don't let that energy, that excitement pass without being willing to step out and take a next step. That next step will help you get down the road of creating success in 2016 and accomplishing what you want to accomplish, being willing to change something to accomplish something you've never had before. Awesome. So you have questions, we have solutions. We'd love to answer some of those questions for you and provide you hopefully with some answers and some solutions to your problems. So let me jump in here to our chat panel. We'll get to this. I did mention our analytics webinar that we're going to have next week, so I encourage you to watch your email for that. Question here from Liz. How can I grow my mailing list as a new business? That's a great question, Liz. Lots of opportunities to do that, honestly. The number one and most obvious, and this is probably something you're already doing, but that is to just capture email addresses from guests that are staying with you. Make sure you have a plan to get those. That's a pretty obvious one, but use that, update your list regularly. Some others that we have seen success with, sometimes your chamber will have a program you can participate in. It's usually something you have to pay extra for, but where they get inquiries for people planning a vacation to your area, they'll give you the email addresses that come in from those inquiries. Some do, some don't. So you'd have to just bring that up with your individual chamber or visitors bureau there. Being able to create content on your website that will get people to convert. Adding a subscription form to your blog. If you're publishing weekly blog content, getting people to subscribe to your blog, great way to do that as well. Using ads in social media and in pay-per-click on organic search results, those paid ads, great way to get your name out in front of people and have a strategy as a part of that to grow your email database. Lots of different ways to really tackle that. Hopefully a few of those kind of spark some ideas for you. Question here from Robert. How far in advance do you want to share an upcoming event, like the Brew Festival or Art Fair that's coming up? Great question, Robert. One we get a lot. And one of the things what we do is we're answering that question with the search traffic we see. So we're going in and going into our tools that we have to be able to see when are people searching for that Brew Festival. If the Brew Festival is in April, chances are people are going to start searching for that in February or March. If they're searching for that in February or March, I need to write a blog about that in probably January or February. So as a rule of thumb, we typically promote an event or festival or anything 60 days before it's happening, unless it happens the same day every year, like Valentine's Day or a holiday. Those types of holidays we might wait a little bit closer to, but events and festivals, we're writing blogs about them about 60 days out, and we're putting them in email campaigns 30 to 45 days ahead of time. So hopefully that helps you with your question, but you've really got to look at the search volume for a particular keyword and the seasonality of that search to be most effective as possible. A question here about EdgeRank and how do you use that? Is it similar to Google Webmaster Tools? Is there a specific website to visit to access EdgeRank? No, EdgeRank is specifically Facebook's algorithm that determines how your content shows up in people's news feeds. So you can't track that necessarily. There's nowhere you can access that. It's just a social media thing. If you're not using Google AdWords, what are the best tools to find out what are the highest value keywords appropriate for you to target? A question there from Heather. Great question, Heather. What I would say is to use Google AdWords, but you don't have to pay for it. If you create a Google AdWords account, you can use all of the tools that live inside of Google AdWords without actually paying for ads, meaning you can have your account, use the tools, but don't have any ads running. So that's my recommendation. Those tools in there are really valuable, and they're totally free. You just have to have the account in the first place. I think they make you add a credit card to verify that account, so you might get charged like $1, but that's just to verify your credit card, and you never have to set up ads or run those ads. You just have to create the account in the first place. So phenomenal opportunity to be able to do that. Another question here from Heather. I've been very faithful about management response to Google and Yelp reviews, but not so much with TripAdvisor reviews. Is this a major shortfall? I think it's great, to respond to TripAdvisor reviews. I don't know that I'd respond to every single one, but definitely respond to them. Any of them that mention you by name or mention your staff by name. Usually, hopefully, those are positive mentions by name. And then any negative ones. Respond to anything that mentions you by name and respond to any any negative reviews. That's a good rule of thumb at a minimum across any review platform. Question here from Tom about going over the spreadsheet again. Happy to do that. Let me get a few of these other questions answered, and then we'll dive back into that, Tom, so that anybody who needs to go right at 3 Eastern can do that. Actually, it's 3:02 Eastern, so we're a little past that, but we'll answer the rest of these questions here. Question from Joanne. Besides blogging on our site, what other content should we focus on? Lots of things, just doesn't change because it's informational. Yeah, great point, Joanne. I don't think you need to be worried about the rest of that, just making sure that stuff is all up to date. If there's anything out there that's not evergreen or that's seasonal, make sure those are updated. So packages, specials, things like that, make sure you're updating those things. Anything that's changing on a regular basis. If something's not changing on a regular basis, you don't need to worry so much about updating it all the time. But that's an important thing to be thinking about, just keeping things up to date. Question here from Julie. How many back years of guests should you include for your email blasts? Depends. If you've never emailed to those people before, I wouldn't go back. Definitely wouldn't go back further than 2 years. I'd probably maybe stick to 1, depending on how many people are in your list. But definitely not more than 2. If you've already been emailing to those people on a regular basis, you can go back a little further. But if you're starting email for the first time, don't go back any further than 2 years. Question from Patrick. Do you see using Facebook ads paid as a good advertising platform or even boosting your website through Facebook? Yes, we do with certain cases. We don't see a ton of trackable ROI from it, but again, it helps your destination get discovered. So I think it's a good place to invest part of your marketing budget, but a very small portion of your marketing budget. We wouldn't invest a ton into it. We actually invest into Facebook ads for our customers out of what they pay us, so they don't have to pay for that. That's just something we do because we believe in it so much. It's just, again, it's a small budget, but we manage that for them as part of what we do on an ongoing basis. So hopefully that helps, Patrick. It is a good platform, but you have to have some specific goals you're going out. Don't just go out and do it without having a goal in mind and without having a plan to track your accomplishment of that goal. So hopefully that helps you. All right, let's jump back over here to our spreadsheet for you, Tom, so you can see that. And then, like I said, we'll get this emailed out as well. All right, there that is. So I'll run through this again. This top part here, these yellow boxes, and I'll zoom in so we can hopefully see this a little bit more clearly. Give me just a minute to get zoomed in. There we go. All right, so hopefully that's big enough for everybody to see who's still with us. You'll see every single week is listed here. So every single week is its own column. And then in this area, we have the yellow boxes, which it looks like it kind of did a funky thing there when I zoomed in. But these yellow boxes here, you can fill in with your number of rooms or properties, your average daily rate. So if you have properties, what do they book for on an average daily rate? Your 2015 occupancy, and how booked you were in your 2015 website visits. That will tell you how many website visits it took to get every booking that you got. And then you set a goal for 2016, and it will tell you how much you need to grow your traffic by. So if you're going to try to increase occupancy by 20% this year, you essentially need to grow traffic by 20% this year, or that's the way we're estimating it in this. And then the reason we ask for rooms or property and average daily rate and occupancy is to be able to give you this financial forecast down here at the bottom and say if you did that much of business last year, ballpark, this is what your monthly revenue was, this is what your quarterly revenue was, this is what your cumulative revenue year to date was, and then forecasting that based on how much you're going to grow this year and what is that growth number. How much growth should you expect to see this year? So it starts to help you understand and build a plan around some of that ROI. And then these are the marketing methods we talked about. And then every single one is colored in. So it's colored in so that you can check that box off. So January, let's see, we're at January 19th. So that tells me that is the third week of January. So we're in this week, since it's the week ending date. So in the fourth week of January, or third week of January, what do I need to be doing? So I just track this third week of January all the way down. I don't have to do email marketing this month, but I do have to write a blog. I do have to manage my social media. I do have to do search engine optimization. I've got to find a new referring website. I got to do relation management. Don't have to do seasonal packages because hopefully I've got my winter packages already loaded in there. So you can start to see how that works. And then these blanks are for you to fill in your own additional marketing methods. So hopefully that's helpful for you there, Tom, so that you can, or anybody that's following along with us, so you can see how to use the spreadsheet when we email it out to you. Awesome. A couple follow-up questions here. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. Oh, absolutely. You're welcome, Heather. Glad that you were along for the ride with us today, and I hope that our weather warms up soon as well. You're probably laughing at me because I'm pretty sure I know where you are, and I'm pretty sure it's frigid there like all winter. So I appreciate your pity on us. And a question here from Joanne, or maybe a statement. We were just doing email marketing and aren't sure what exactly we should be in those emails. LOL. Yeah, and that's up to you, a little bit of that content we shared there. But you know, hopefully that was helpful for you, Joanne, as far as what should go in there. But a great way to take that next step. If you're trying to figure out email marketing, I encourage you to request our marketing grader. That would be a good next step for you to take there and be able to connect with us one-on-one and get some email marketing questions answered. Another question here from Vincent. Explain the different colors in your spreadsheet, please. The colors up top just correspond to yellow, means that it needs to be filled in. So yellow means it needs to be filled in up here. The colors down here in this marketing method part have no significance other than that they're different just so they stand out on the sheet. And then if you print this in color, when you see a color, you know you need to check mark that specific box. So the color chosen has no significance, just to set them off from each other. But it's really done so that you know you need to execute something. If the box is blank or white, that tells you you don't have to do anything that week in that marketing method. So hopefully that makes sense. That's why there's only 2 email boxes colored in every month, because those weeks are the weeks you're supposed to send them. The weeks it's blank are the weeks you don't need to send them. So hopefully that answered that question. I know this spreadsheet is complex. If you have more questions on it, a great way to get those questions answered would be to email us or request our marketing grader, and we'll go over what's working for you, and then I'll be also happy to go over this one-page marketing plan with you as well and help you develop that for yourself. So I encourage you to take that next step. You can look for that next step. I will email you after this with an opportunity to take that next step. So thanks, everybody, for your time today. I appreciate it. Hope you have all had a great day, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. Please get a hold of us if there's anything we can do to help. Thanks.